Welcome to this edition of Lift Every Voice, a report of the Louisville branch NAACP. America is home to the land of freedom, justice, and opportunity. It is that land because of the sacrifice of many brave men and women who have served our country in the armed forces in war and in peace. Recognizing the importance of such men and women, among the committees of the Louisville branch is the Armed Services and Louisville Veteran Affairs Committee. I'm pleased to have with me today three gentlemen who we need to thank for their service to preserve and protect the freedom and rights we enjoy, and we do thank each of them. Thank you. I am pleased to have with me today Haven Harrington, who is chair of the Armed Services and Veteran Affairs Committee of the Louisville branch NAACP, Leroy Anderson, past chair of that committee, and Whitney Allen, who is the Chief of Staff to the Kentucky Division of Veterans Affairs. Welcome, gentlemen. First, I would like for each of you to give a little background on your service, when you served, and your branch of service. So we'll start with you, Haven.
Okay. My service was with the United States Air Force in Strategic Air Command. I worked in ICBMs for 4.5 years, stationed in North Dakota and Illinois. I was the first Air Force scholarship recipient at University of Louisville in 1967. And I must say it was a benefit to me. It paid my way through school, and I thoroughly enjoyed my 4 years of service. But I finished my career working as an engineer for DuPont.
Okay. Leroy?
Well, I served in the United States Army Reserves, and my first job was to work with eyes. Believe it or not, I assisted the doctors who were examining eyes, and later on I went from that to being a ward master and teaching other soldiers how to be medics, and along the line I was in charge of the training for the enlisted personnel for that unit. This was at the Bowman Field Hospital at that time. And we service soldiers out at Fort Knox and at VA Hospital, as well as the hospital we had at Bowman Field. Along with that, I went into training with a unit that trained battalions, and we would actually have war games or whatever and see how well they could function under pressure. And we handle, or I work with the medical aspect of that, and went on to become first sergeant of that battalion, and eventually I ended up working with military intelligence. That was my last job. Somewhere in between, I went to Desert Storm as a combat medic, okay, and got my, oh boy, I'll put it this way, I got tested.
Okay, okay.
And later on, I got to meet this guy.
Okay, which gets us to Whitney. So let's tell us about your military experience.
Yes, I enlisted in the Army Reserve when I was a junior in high school, and we would call it was the Army Split Out program. So I believe I was the first in my high school to do that. After receiving a couple of demotions, I realized I would be a better fit as an Army officer, where I received my commission and served 21.5 years, retiring Lieutenant Colonel. And 2 years with First Sergeant Anderson, who was my mentor during the early years, mobilizing National Guard and Reserve units in Kentucky for Iraqi freedom and Operation Enduring Freedom, basically the combat tours in Iraq and Afghanistan. Okay. And recently retired in 2015, and now I'm at this point doing veterans employment advocacy.
Okay. Well, you know, the Veteran Affairs Committee of the NAACP has been involved in a number of projects over the years. One immediately to mind, Haven, is the project in terms of the display at the African American Heritage Center. Would you talk to us a little bit about that center and how that project came about? Where you and Leroy both can tag team that one.
Yeah, I guess I'll start with by saying that project was one of our members who is a commander for NAVVETS, National Association of Black Veterans. and they took it on working through, and Whitney helped me with this, through VCAL, which is
Yes.
the Veterans Coalition of Louisville. Engineering came from that project, but it really is designed as part of a tribute to General Charles Young, who was posthumously promoted to general just recently. But that display was put together by NAVVETS. It was sponsored by VCAL, and there's still a piece of it that we're trying to work through. NAVVETS has not quite been involved with that as much, but what the intent is, long term, is we want a bronze statue of Colonel Young standing there. Right now, it's not. It's just a metal figure. It's a very, very nice display, but the goal is to have a nice bronze statue of him standing there saluting the flags.
And a little history, if you don't mind,
Yeah, go ahead.
about Colonel Charles Young. He was the third African American to graduate from West Point in the late 1880s. Served in many campaigns in the Mexican-American War and the Philippines. And when World War I came along, he wanted to become a general, and unfortunately, the U.S. government denied that. So this project, plus making him a general by the state of Kentucky or the Commonwealth of Kentucky, allowed him to have an honor that was denied him over 100 years ago. That's why the project was important.
Okay. So the Veteran Affairs Committee, let's talk, we talked about that project. Talk about what the Veteran Affairs Committee does, kinds of things that it's engaged in.
Okay, I'll talk about some of the things we're engaged in. I need to add to that. COVID has changed a lot of what the Veterans Affairs groups do right now, because we're not allowed to get together like we used to and do some of the things. But I'll go back to last year, and I'll get Elder Anderson to help me with this. We ended up the year with working with the Toys for Tots. That was one of the things we took on. We worked with the Stand Down, which is it's an event that's held at the Salvation Army headquarters on Breckenridge, and that's for homeless veterans. And in that venue, we do giveaways. Plus, we also do voter registration. And it's a very, very big event. Can't do it this year because we can't have that many people in closed space. And of course, there was a Veterans Day parade. We participated in that last year. There is going to be some sort of Veterans Day parade this year. Whitney, you probably know more of where that stands than I do. Mm-hmm. It was moved from downtown to Middletown, and I don't know what's happened past that, because there was some talk of not doing it at all because getting the mayor to go along with that. But part of that is what happens when we have veterans. Well, we call it Veterans Day, but it's the Mayor's Week of Valor, November the 1st through November 11th. And there'll be a number of things going on involving veterans, and I'll share that information with you. The one thing that is still on the docket that we'll be interested in is NAVVETS is going to have something at the Heritage Center on November the 8th, I believe it is, all day. And that'll be a welcome to all veterans to come in. Of course, there'll be social distancing, and it'd be a different venue than before.
I'd like to give you a little background on the parade.
Yeah.
There wasn't a parade. What happened, and I'll probably do best to kind of go off my notes here, but the city of Louisville did not really have a parade as such, or if they did, it's been long years past. So in 2000, I think it was 11, February the 11th, we had a meeting. The meeting was with Greg Fisher, Mayor Greg Fisher, since the late Senator Georgia Powers. She was vice president of the NAACP, Charles Starlett, who was chairman of the Mumford Point Marines Association, or president of it. And at that time, I was chairman of the NAACP Armed Services and Veterans Affairs Committee. We met and we talked to him, and we expressed the need to recognize the veterans with a parade. He bought it, and as a result, the first parade was held in 2011, and all the parades that came after that was because of that one meeting. So it had its birth in the association. Also, the Week of Valor and all of that came around the parade. It built, all the activities came around that. That's the history. You might not hear this.
Well, we're glad you enlightened us, Leroy,
Right.
because I think the NAACP is involved in a number of things in the community and doesn't always necessarily get the credit that is due for there, but being instrumental in restarting the parade and ensuring that it takes place.
Yes.
The committee does a variety of things in terms of service. Haven had talked about, things that were done with homeless veterans in terms of community. What kinds of services or opportunities have you in the past provided and done in terms of veterans? And to you, Whitney, the Division of Veteran Affairs, which is very active in terms of services for veterans. Let's talk about those kinds of things and services that are available, what you're doing, and then how people can connect to that.
Great. Well, let's start with.
Well, one of the things we did when we first started this Veteran Association, our committee, we wanted to have relationships with fellow agencies that were serving active serving members and veterans. And by doing that, like the Mumford Point Marines, NAVVETS, what have you, we would get involved with them and share with them whatever their activities were and push their programs. And also they would work with us on goals that we would have. And a side note on that, we went to a national NAACP, a national convention. And we brought back information, and Shedrick got involved with this information that we brought about the NAVVETS, and that's where the NAVVETS started in this area. We had a little part in all of this, but also we wanted to, all the information that in regards to benefits for veterans, we wanted to make that available. And there were many veterans that came to us, and we had the help of Ms. Regina Morris with Veteran Affairs. And through her and also our group, we were able to help a lot of veterans get benefits that they didn't even know they could get. And really something that was beneficial was those people who were getting benefits, but they had a certain rate that they were at, and we helped them get a higher rate of benefits.
Okay, can you expound upon the benefits that are available to veterans and how one can, if one has not gotten plugged into those, how you get plugged into those?
Sure, I can explain it if you guys don't mind. Well, number one, to summarize what the Veterans, the Armed Services Veterans Committee does for the NAACP is to disseminate information, which include benefits, actually participate in a variety of community organization services. So he mentioned the Veterans Community Alliance of Louisville. Mr. Haven Harrington is our voice there to talk and talk our issues as well as bring back information. And then we also recognize individuals. So now I'm tongue-tied from Louisiana. But we revised the program to recognize veterans in the organization for all the great work they're doing in the committee as well as for the NAACP as a whole. So now the Kentucky Department of Veteran Affairs, we are the representative for Commonwealth veterans in Kentucky. On the side of benefits, we help them research what benefits that they have. If they can file claims. And when people would say, what does claims mean? Well, it's service-connected injuries that happen doing service in the military. And if it is documented and is granted, a veteran can receive financial compensation for the rest of his life for his injuries. So there's no true medical or health insurance when somebody gets injured in the military. However, that compensation benefit serves that way. And out of that, based on the ratings, veterans' kids can go to school, or if they die, a spouse can get certain monetary benefits later on in life.
Okay. So given that, it's very clear that there are lots of opportunities for veterans in terms of what's available for their service. In our community, why, I guess I would ask, why should the broader community, our broader community, be aware of what's available to veterans?
That's a good question, and I can speak being someone who's really gotten more involved in the last few years than these two gentlemen. There are a lot of things out there that veterans can take advantage of that they don't know exist. For example, I know people who work for UPS, other companies, who are veterans, and they use veterans benefits for health care as opposed to UPS, because contrary to what a lot of people feel and say, when you look at the total picture, the veterans benefits are as good as any other health care benefits you can get. And it's something that you earn through your service. And a lot of people don't take advantage of that.
Well, here's another thing to add to it. It's all about quality of life. So let's say you're given a VA rating, which is, it tells you how much the compensation is. If you're 100% rated disabled, you can get a monthly check for $3,000 for the rest of your life. That improves a standard of living. Let's use an example of a Vietnam veteran who left the Vietnam War, went on to work as a bus driver, taxi cab driver at a time where it didn't have benefits. Well, when that person retires, they're depending on their Social Security check. Well, if they get their 100% rating, that's another $3,000 on top of that. So I'm just throwing out $1,500 for Social Security plus $3,000. That's $4,500 a month that a veteran can live off and improve his life. Also, free health care. You can go to any VA hospital and clinic and pay almost nothing for just simple routines or major surgeries. In the state, so the KDVA runs 4 nursing homes. If you qualify, you can live there for no cost at all. Or if you die, you and your spouse can be buried for nothing in the cemetery. So.
Okay. So how does one go about getting or reaching out, and what's the contact mechanism for people reaching out to access all of those benefits?
Oh, true. Number one, you can actually go to the Veterans Administration or the VA website and look for your local representative.
Right.
You can go to the kdva.gov website and either send an email or call our office. And
You
we
got to
will
tell people what that acronym means.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. And I thought I explained it is Kentucky Department of Veteran Affairs.
Okay.
If you go to our website, you'll see the number, and you can contact our office, and we can connect you to a benefit representative around Kentucky, wherever is your location. And the neat thing is that you don't have to pay for anything, okay? And we can start you on that road. Same thing if you want to bury a veteran in one of our state cemeteries and have a ceremony. You just go to our website, kdva.com, or search Kentucky Department of Veteran Affairs, or if you're a member of the NAACP, the Veterans Committee, or any veterans organization from there, and we can take you on that road for benefits that you're entitled to.
Yeah. In fact, one of our members has just been certified as a benefits administrator, Charles Turner. And I think there are only 36 in the state, but he's recently been certified to help people with that. And NAVVETS, periodically, they will have different events, and they'll have people there that they invite veterans, and they have people there that will help talk them through benefits, help them understand what they can get. And there are people that are certified to do that. That was one of the things we missed about not having Stand Down this year, because they had several representatives there that were talking.
Tell them what
to people.
Stand Down is.
Okay, Stand Down is this event that we held at the Salvation Army, the old Mill High School building, and you had all sorts of veterans organizations there. Specifically, it was designed for homeless veterans, although we didn't turn away other homeless people that showed up. And they'd get haircuts, they would get shoes and socks, foot washing, they would get all sorts of things they need to survive. Plus, they would get information on what type of benefits they could have if they were veterans. They'd get flu shots, help them find housing, again, register them to vote. It was a great, always felt very good there because you were doing something for people. And they would be there. A lot of times, the U of L cheerleaders would actually be there and they would escort the people in and get them started and feed them and make a good day of it. Reverend Anderson was there with me a couple of times, and it's a very impressive thing. Like I say, you can't do it this year, but I was very impressed with the services provided through the VA hospital, through the veterans reps. They did a good job of working with all the people, trying to make them aware of what they could get, because a lot of them didn't know. And by the time they left, they were feeling better about themselves and had a better understanding of what they could do to help better their lot in life.
Also,
Go ahead.
for those individuals that may not be comfortable with internet and doing research, and they might want to talk to somebody, you know. When we had our meetings, we are available for those individuals to come into our meetings, and we can assist them. Right now, with everything the way it is, it's a little different. But when things open up again, we'll be able to do things like that. But you can contact the NAACP, contact the NAACP to find out from our group. All of us are members of the association, and each one of us know the contacts that you would need to talk to, or we could get the contacts you need to talk to for whatever your particular needs would be. So point of reference would be NAACP office.
Sir, if you don't mind, I'll give you the Kentucky Department of Veteran Affairs number. And the number is 502-595-4447. You can find out what the state is doing. If you want to talk directly to the federal VA, we'll refer you to them, and as well as to our veteran service organizations. And if you ask for me, I'll make sure we pass you on to the NAACP.
Okay. You know, for your service, you all have given great service to this country. When we think about it in our final couple of minutes, as a veteran, you know, what can the community, our community, do to assist, aid you in any way? What would you like to see from the community? You know, we do parades to honor you. There are awards that are done, but in terms of looking to our community, particularly the African American community, what is it that we ought to be doing?
That's a great question. A lot of times when we talk about Veterans Affairs, we talk in terms of people that are disabled, talk about people that are in terms of need, but a lot of times I think what we don't do is celebrate each other. The veterans, we don't get together very much and just enjoy being veterans that can talk about the things we've done, the places we've been. That's a very, very good question. Leroy, what would you think about that?
I'm thinking in terms of there are a lot of veterans that are out there that need either financial help or they need jobs. Yeah. And those in our community, those of you in the community, if you have your own business or you are associated with businesses, to see what you can do in terms of offering job opportunities to those veterans who have left the service and who are out there trying to make ends meet, and you know, giving them an opportunity to have employment. And one thing about the military, you got discipline. Yeah. And if you get somebody that has been in the military, they're a pretty good worker. Because they better be a good worker.
And on that, you want to also be connected to veterans. Come up, talk to them, learn a little bit more. Yeah. Go to the military installations, Fort Knox, the air base here, learn a lot more. And then for employment, definitely we have skills, especially those coming out, real quality jobs when it comes terms to healthcare, especially the medical professionals, so they can understand, they should be connected to understand the injuries and just support us. When you vote, you're voting in support of veterans.
Okay. Well, let me say thank you, Whitney. Thank you, Leroy. Thank you, Haven, for the service that you've given this country. And thank you for being with us today to talk about veteran affairs and what can be done. We're going to take a short break and we'll be right back.
The NAACP organized a rally tonight. It brought out people from all backgrounds calling for change.
People are pleading for justice. They're saying we don't want to be treated like this anymore.
Over the last several weeks, hundreds of thousands of people are taking to the streets to say enough is enough.
We have a decision to make as a country. It's one thing to scream at the top of our lungs around the problem. It's another thing to march to the polls to address the problem. We must make the demands required for the future we want to see. And making sure we have people who hold office who are accountable to the communities that we represent, so that the communities that we represent have a healthy and prosperous experience in this democracy.
Our lives depend on how we advocate for ourselves. By adding your voice and your impact, you can help chart the course for our future.
We find our nation on a precipice, true tipping point. Is this the moment that will finally change our country?
Offer solutions, we win. I'ma keep running cause the winner don't quit on themselves.
It's always the right time to celebrate women and black women in particular.
It is an opportunity to show the nation we will act. Vote. Vote like your life depends on it, because it does.
That is what we need next. Action.
This is the eye I had surgically repaired. That light is doing a number on me. Oh, that's okay. Yeah. There you. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
What station does this come on?
It's a,
Right.
Oh, get out of here.
yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So I'm going to count you in just because we're rolling, and then I'll explain everything to you after we get done filming. Is that cool?
All right.
That's fine.
All right. And 5, 4, 3, 2.
We're in election season, and one of the things that I've witnessed in the past few days is the swearing in of a new Supreme Court justice. Also, swearing in that new Supreme Court justice was a current justice, Justice Clarence Thomas. When you think of Thurgood Marshall, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, which those two individuals replaced, you have gone from a situation where you had people who are absolutely polar opposite. There are clearest examples that I can point to today where elections do matter and elections have consequences. So because of that, we should make every effort to be certain that we are in fact voting and voting in numbers to have an impact on this election. We are currently in the early voting period, which will continue now through Monday, November the 2nd, with election day being on November the 3rd. So if you haven't voted, we in NAACP encourages you to vote and vote in person. If you're not voting in person and you have requested an absentee ballot, we would encourage you to in fact return that absentee ballot as soon as possible, and make certain that in completing your absentee ballot that you mark all of the places where you need to. You color the boxes in, not an X, but color the bubble in completely. And that on the flaps that you have to sign, you sign your signature the same as you sign on your driver's license or your other identification. It is absolutely essential that you return those absentee ballots as soon as possible, because they need to be postmarked by no later than Election Day, November the 3rd. In addition to that, voting early is important. The NAACP has for the past several weeks been calling registered voters, encouraging them to vote. We placed a call from the office the other day and got the sister of the gentleman whom we were calling. And what we learned in that call was the day before, this gentleman had in fact voted. The day we called, he had in fact passed, but he had in fact voted the day before. So having an opportunity to vote is absolutely important, and we should take full advantage of all of those. For us, in terms of early voting, you can vote early at the African American Heritage Center at 18th and Muhammad Ali, the Yum Center downtown, the fairgrounds on Phillips Avenue, or at the Marriott East on Embassy Square. Each of those places are available for you to vote early, and we need to make certain that every eligible voter who is there. And we ask not only that you vote, but encourage your family members and encourage 10 of your closest friends to vote. Because as I led into this, elections have consequences, and we need to in fact, do that. Early voting is open from 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Monday through Saturday, and you can in fact go there. Election day, polls open at 6 a.m. and they close at 6 p.m. So if you cannot vote early, make certain that you do vote on election day. It is important that you do that. The NAACP is actively involved, and if you have any questions regarding voting, you can call the NAACP at 502-776-7608. You can visit our office at 1245 Catalpa Court, or you can in fact reach us by email. Our email address is louisvillebranch@lounaacp.org. Again, that's louisvillebranch@lounaacp.org. Our lives and our livelihoods and the future of our people as a people depends on whether or not we vote. If your vote was not important and not valuable, all of the efforts that have been put or roadblocks put in front of you to hinder your vote would not be there. The way we lift every voice is by voting, and we ask that you in fact vote. Thank you, and I'll see you at the polls.
I am the largest.
The oldest.
I am the baddest.
The boldest.
I am protecting our voting rights.
And our environment.
I am ending racial profiling.
And fighting HIV/AIDS.
I am advancing economic equality.
And equality.
For all.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am NAACP. Are you?
Take a stand at IamNAACP.org.